All right. Hello. Welcome everybody. Hope you all had a great weekend. We're gonna get to some Git exercises in just a few minutes. I did want to kind of give you all a heads up before you maybe get too comfortable. A lot of the exercises that I'm gonna ask you to do today, you're gonna want to have a partner for. So if you would like to consider that now, groups of 2 are fine. I would accept groups of 3. Preferably no more than that, but we're going to be doing a lot of group exercises today. So if you want to take a moment, look around, introduce yourself to your neighbors. As I kind of review some of the more general announcements, feel free to figure that out. While I remind you that assignment 2 is due this evening. However, I got to be honest with you, I have a very busy week this week. I'm probably not going to get a chance to look at assignment 2 for at least another couple days. So if you don't have it done yet, don't freak out. Obviously I want you to get it done, but I don't want you to worry about deadlines so much because as long as you're actively putting an effort in, I will work with you for as long as it takes to get that assignment done. I've been talking to some people over the weekend about the assignment. I was actually out of town over the weekend, so I wasn't actually able to respond as quickly as I would have liked, but even if you don't get the assignment done by whatever it says the end of the day today, don't freak out. I will, send me an email, let me know what problems you're having. I've been having conversations with people about the assignment. I know it's definitely trickier than the last one. So, but don't let the deadline discourage you. That's, as long as you're working on it and making progress, the deadline is not necessarily an issue. I will try to get those graded and back to you as soon as I can because actually assignment 3, which I'm going to be talking about today, I would argue is just kind of building off of the last one to some degree. In fact, I'll talk about that a bit more when we get to assignment 3 later on today. It's going to be sort of like assignment 2, just with additional Git things included. So, yeah. I think that's about it for now. We are getting kind of close to spring break, which is going to be our project kickoff. So I'm not going to talk a whole lot about that today, but the project is also a group project. So as you're working with partners today, you might want to consider whether you would want to continue working with this group of people. It's the same idea, groups of 2 or 3 on the project. So keep that in mind as well. We'll talk more about that before spring break. Yeah. Any questions about homework assignments or dates or anything like that before I jump into our conversation about Git? All right, fantastic. We actually have a lot of kind of random loose ends, I would say, to tie up today. But we're going to start by, I think, reviewing a lot of what we did in class last Wednesday. But I'm actually going to have you do it this time instead of just me talking about it. I really want to go through and get you the opportunity to practice these things yourselves in real practical type situations. So the first exercise that I'm going to ask you to do is actually something that you may have already done in CSE131. We asked students to do it on one of the very first days of class, but then there's really no reason to ever ask them to do it again after that. So that's, I think, why it's a good kind of starting off point. Basically, we're asking you to, with your partner, send information from one computer to the other computer using your Git repository. We're hoping that this will be a successful task. Although after that, I'm going to ask you to do it the wrong way. I'm going to ask you to create a conflict. So we saw what conflicts are last class. Actually forced a conflict, talked about what it was and how to fix it. So we'll review that today, and I'm going to ask you to I want you to actually see a conflict yourself and fix it yourself. So you and your partner are going to be working on that. And then, yeah, after that we'll switch and talk about the homework assignment for a bit and hopefully have some time to do some other stuff. So let's get started with our first exercise. Give me a minute to chat about you with this before diving in, because it does require a little bit of setup. You're going to need a repository. So a lot of you created a repository last week. If you want to use that repository, you can. If you want to create a new one for today, you can. You only need one repository per group. So whoever the designated repository maker is, make a repository, and then you will have to add the other group members to it. You'll have to give them the ability to access your repository. So the way to do that is listed here as part of the instructions. by going to the settings page for the repository, and then manage access and inviting your collaborators. You can do that via GitHub username typically, or email address I believe also works. This will take a few minutes though, right? This is the first part of setting up your repository. So I'd say before you do anything else, let's just do that. Please just do that part. Let me know if you get stuck. Let me know if you need help. Once you get that part done, sit tight for a minute and I'll chat to you about what we're going to do next. Oh, okay, she's on the way. What's up? Oh yeah, no special options or anything like that. Public is fine. Private, honestly, private is fine. Yeah. We just need a repository. Yep, that's all I'm worried about.
Yeah, that's really disappointing. I thought you were to give like the other person access.
That's right, yeah. So on the repository page, go to settings.
It goes to the
Oh, it's actually a little off, isn't it? It's collaborators, and then collaborators and teams. There we go. Anybody else need help getting their members added? You guys okay? You got repositories going? Yeah? Okay. You guys doing okay? That's the personal access token. So you'll need to go scroll down to settings, developer settings. Is that down at the bottom? Yep. Developer settings. Personal access tokens. So yeah, that'll take a new one when you start putting the console token. Make sure to check the review box. That should do it for you. And use that in place of your password when it asks for your password. Doesn't take long. Okay, I think most groups are set up, so what we're going to do next is have everybody in the group make a clone of the repository. So, this is one of the easier steps, but just to refresh your memory, once you have access to the repository, everybody's going to need to go to the regular repository page, right? This is just a repository that I have actually for the assignment that we're going to talk about later. You can click on the green code button, and here's the URL that you're going to need to use with the clone command, right? So open up the console and use your git clone command in conjunction with the whatever address you need to paste in there. Make sure that everybody on time the computer does this part, the repository at this stage is probably going to be empty, right? I mean, if you selected a README file, that'll be there, or a get-ignore file, that'll be there. But if maybe it's empty, maybe nothing in it. It might tell you that. It might say you've cloned an empty repository. That's okay. That's all right. We're going to fix that in a second. In fact, this is the very, well, let me pause for a second, make sure everybody's got stuff. I don't want to leave anybody behind. So I want to do this a couple of different ways, right? We're going to do this the correct way. I want to show you what happens when everything goes well and we don't have any problems. And then we'll start injecting some problems into things a little bit later on. So for right now, just select one person in your group. It needs to create a file inside of the repository. So just as a little refresher, make sure you CD into the repository first, right? I've already cloned this repository on my computer. So make sure you CD into the repository first, whatever it's called. How do I make a new file? What's the command? Anybody remember? There's a couple ways you could do it. Touch is one way, or you could just use bin, right? Bin, whatever you want to do. Touch, new file, call it whatever you want, right? Just put some random junk in there. Doesn't have to be code. Just put in something. Again, one person is doing this from the group. Just one person right now. Once that person has created the file, what's the next step that we have to do to make sure this file is going to be included from the repository? Anybody remember? So actually, maybe I should make a new file. New file. All right, I've got my new file. How do I make sure this file's going to be included as part of the repository? What's the command? Add, that's right. So we're going to add the new file. Again, this is still just one person who's doing this, although everybody will get a chance to in a moment. Yeah, I talked about that last time. That's my Windows machine doing Windows things. Don't worry about that warning message. And then once we've added, what's the next step? If I want to make this file appear on github.com, what do I need to do? Commit. That's step one. So git commit. We have to include -m with the commit message here. So go ahead and run that, and then after we commit, how do we actually... So committing, remember, is just making a snapshot, a point in time. It does not actually send that information anywhere. So what's the command to send the information to GitHub? It's the second half. Go ahead and run a git push, whoever did that. And verify that when you go to the web page, you might have to refresh the page, but whatever file was created should hopefully be seen there. I didn't actually go through with it. I didn't want to mess with this repository. I just kind of faked these emotions. But you hopefully went through it and see this. Again, you've done this part probably a bajillion times. We ask you to do this in Eclipse, in 131 for every single homework assignment. But now's where the fun part happens. Everybody else in the group gets to have their turn now, right? Everybody else in the group gets to receive that message. So whoever didn't create that file, if they run ls inside, make sure you CD into the repository. Make sure you're actually in the repository. But if you run ls, nothing's there because you didn't make that file. You didn't make that commit. You didn't push that file to github.com. We wish to receive that data, though. We wish to receive that information. So we're going to do the opposite of a push, which is a pull. So the other group members should run git pull. If everything goes well, it should retrieve that file that was created. And everyone's computer should now be up to date. This is the quote-unquote, successful path, the successful timeline. No conflicts were had, right? No conflicts were run into. In an ideal situation, this is how it would work every time. We would, add new files, ship them off. Everybody would pull the files. And then what I would like to do is give you a few minutes to allow the other group members to, switch roles, right? I would like for whoever didn't create a file last time to go ahead and create a file now, commit and push it, and then have the other person pull it to verify that process works in reverse. So go ahead and take a few minutes. Let me know if you get stuck. And then after we do this part, we'll talk about confidence. Hey. It's a personal access, not a password. So yeah, you'll have to scroll down and create a new personal access again. Well, yeah, it won't show it to you again. It'll only show it to you in the very beginning. Yeah. It's my work.
Sorry, do you know which one is
I mean, as long as it's not required to be, then but I don't know if they're required to be. That one is, that one is not. I don't recognize confidence. I recognize that one. That looks similar to what I would expect it to be. If it doesn't work, I mean, they want you to make confidence. That is the want. Don't be shy about it. Yes, I meant to talk about that. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me. Are you classes? Well, we can actually make any branches. I was just doing this all on my own. Here, I'll just hit information again, and then you all would have to switch to grandfathers. Oh, I got you. This command right here. You can actually just copy paste that right into the picture. What it's doing is tying the local branch to the Microsoft. Yeah. There's also a way to make it better thing. Yeah, Google it. It's on pops up. Don't have to suffer through pasting random garbage. Yeah, remember password. You'll probably place it on set. Yes. Okay. Sweet, great. Skip this. So after adding the extra bit, yeah. So typically you use dash n followed by the message. Since you didn't do that, it's asking you to type the message. Anyway. So that works. Now you're good. No, it's okay. So that's the problem with copy pasting. Yes. Well, what happens is the next time you enter it, yes. Well, I'm not sure if you can try. I mean, you can try. I got to Google it. Alrighty. Yeah, that seemed to go about as well as it typically does. Yes, people get stuck, but that's pretty normal. out too much. I expect people to run into roadblocks. I expect people to get stuck on things. I've asked several people to Google stuff because I don't know all the answers either, and I have to Google stuff too. So don't be afraid to Google things. Don't be afraid to try stuff that you find online to fix problems. That's sort of the general vibe of this class, right? Let's try things. Let's see what happens. Let's maybe we'll break stuff, but it's nothing important. Not yet, anyway. Let's try and actually break stuff for real this time. I would like for your groups to introduce a conflict. So conflicts happen when we have multiple versions of the same file. There's a few different ways you can do this. The way I showed you in class last time was a merge conflict that happens when you merge branches. I haven't actually asked you to use any branches yet today. I don't believe, or maybe I did. I can't remember. But anyway, all that we need to do to force a conflict is to make two different changes or more to the same file. So everybody in your group actually needs to decide on a file that is in the repository. Make sure you're on the same branch as well. If you want to, reset yourself, you can always check out the main branch, right? Make sure everybody's on the same branch. Or is it called something else for this one? Is it called, oh, it's called master, sorry. Make sure you're on the same branch, whatever that branch is. It doesn't really matter what branch it is, just make sure you're on the same one. Look at what files are in the repository on that branch, so you can run ls. You should all select the same file. Everybody in your group should make a change to that file. Everybody in your group should make a change to that file. So if you want to make sure the change is unique, you can put just your name or something in there. You can also simulate this. I kind of hesitate to show people that you can do this, but you can do this. It'll work. If you go on to github.com, you can actually edit files directly through the browser. So if one of you wants to kind of fake it by changing the file online, somebody else changes it on their local computer, that's two different copies, right? One change is on your computer, one change is done online. It doesn't really matter how you get there as long as you have multiple copies of the same file. Let's see, how can I force it on this particular repository? I need to finish doing some things here. Okay, sorry I had to do a little cleanup work there for a second, but let me explain what happened. I was working by myself, so I didn't, hey, can I have your attention please? Thank you. I was working by myself. I didn't have the luxury of having somebody else modify the file, so I had to kind of fake it a little bit. So I changed the file on my computer and I committed it. Hopefully, it doesn't actually matter at this point if you push or not, right? That doesn't have to be part of the process. It just matters that I have changed the file and made a commit with those changes. I also then went to github.com and changed the file there just by adding some random junk to it. This is me simulating another person on another computer. So hopefully this was your group mate who did this, not through github.com, but I had to fake it, so I did. And now we have two different versions. We have the version that's on github.com, right? We have the version that's on my computer. So at this point, if you're following along with me, one of your group members needs to push their file to github.com. That's going to become, the main version, I guess. You can refresh the page, verify that that one person's file got it. And then whoever didn't push that file to github.com, they're going to go ahead and do the pull. And hopefully this will trigger the conflict, because the version that has been pulled from github.com is different than the version that you have on your computer, the commit that you made. If it didn't work, don't freak out about it. That's, not totally unexpected, to be honest with you, because this is new. We're trying these things for the first time. If you did get a conflict, that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to successfully induce a conflict. If that happened and you open up the file in Vim or some other text editor, I would expect you to see something like this. I showed this to you last time, but we're going to review it again. It's still good information to know. It's showing us the two different versions of the file. So the equal sign is the separator. Everything above the equal sign is one version of the file. So it's saying that they both share the same first two lines. Those are common, right? No conflict there. First two lines are the same. One of the files has this that comes after it. The other file has this that comes after it. And this is showing, where the conflicts come from, the actual commits that the conflicts come from. It's our job then as a programmer to just pick one, right? How do we fix this? We just make the file look good. Get rid of the junk. Keep the version that you want to keep. Or keep both of them if you want to, right? If this was code we were talking about, it would probably take some significant effort to decide, does this code overlap? Do I need to keep all of it? Is only some of it necessary to keep? Let me test it again, make sure that it actually works, right? But for just text, it's as simple as keeping the text that you want, removing the text that you don't want. So go ahead and do that. Save the file. And then to fully resolve the conflict, it's as simple as adding the file, committing, and then finally pushing the fixed conflict back to github.com. At which point the other group members could successfully pull those changes, and everybody should be in sync again, right? Everybody should be on the same page at that point in time. Again, if I lost you somewhere along the way, don't worry about it too much. Hopefully you're still getting practice. This is tough. I know it's tough. I know it's tricky. There's like a billion different ways to get lost along the way. What's up? Oh my gosh, you're absolutely I think it's asking you to vote on it.
Yeah, so like it pulls me up, so we both did it. So we like to do those like any
I'm if you want to sit around and chat about advertising.
Okay.
I'm not
So then you go from here to around
you should just be able to fix it where you can come with that. But I absolutely like it's not worth worrying about too much. Yeah. Alrighty, let's see. So what I want to show you next is a way of talking about these things. So we're actually working on these things with collaborators, right? We're not actually just working on these things by ourselves. A lot of times there's a need to talk about the changes, or if a conflict happens, there's especially a need to talk about the changes because maybe you don't have enough information to resolve the conflict. Maybe you have no idea what that other stuff even is or how it works. So you need to figure out who made that commit, what happened with it, and uh, get the information, work together to properly resolve the conflict. In order to do that, in order to have a conversation about commits that have taken place, you can create what's called a pull request. So pull requests come in two different flavors. I'm going to show you both of them if we have time, which I believe we will. The primary way that you use pull requests is with a branch. So I haven't actually been using branches up until this point. If you have been, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. If you haven't, now is the time to start using a branch. And so the way that we're going to do that is to check out a new branch with the checkout command -b. -b is the flag that says we're going to be checking out a brand new branch. Right? Brand new branch. Give it a name, call it whatever you want. You can if you both decide to make a branch, please name it different. Is my only recommendation. Don't name it the same thing. Question? What's up? Yeah, I saw him first, and I'll be over there. What's up? Branch directives things that get pushed to the community. Origin stands for infinite conflict. Origin comes from the name of the branch. Anyone doing this the wrong way? I'm not sure, but I honestly don't know. I don't have all the answers. What's up? Okay, what number I do it, always ask me. I don't have all the answers. You can't remember password. What's up? I haven't asked you to merge it.
Or not the merge part, sorry, the I did change it, and then I tried to commit it, and then
We're fully an hour into this marriage.
that's why I didn't want to.
Well, you wouldn't have needed. Well, yeah, I would have accepted it anyways.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm trying to figure out how to get to the
You
part
would
where
need
it's
to
like it
pull.
shows that.
So you need.
No, like I did
But so here, it's telling you you've got now. Give you a project, I'll give you that. That's not actually the error message I would have expected. It
Yeah,
is
that's
telling
not.
you that there's a problem.
Yeah,
It's not called a conflict. So yeah, I'm a little surprised about that message, but there is still you did succeed in what I asked you to do.
Okay.
So you have two different
Okay.
problems. Now, how do you fix it? I mean, it's trying to tell you. So what does this stuff mean? I'm not entirely sure. I have to Google it myself. If you want to try and fix it, you can. Have you looked at the file? Do you see?
Well, we were trying to get the thing where it has like a bunch of arrows.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't showing up on computers.
I guess I just don't understand. Did it make a new branch or something? Let's read this message. So I don't actually think the poll went through. Is what I suspect. I would actually try one of these suggestions and take it to copy, and then try thread. No, no need to do that. I would literally just copy paste one of those in or type it in, and then try your pull and see what happens. Yes.
Question.
I'm not talking about the assignment right now. I'm talking about this stuff. Okay, so if you and your partner each made a branch, or even if just one of you made a branch, that's okay. The next step is for you to make a new file, add it, and commit it. So I'll call it new file 2. Just type some junk, doesn't really matter. And then a couple people have asked me this, and we've actually seen this before. If I just do git push here, I expect maybe an error message. Yeah, several people have asked me about this message. What this is saying is that the branch so far only exists on the computer. It doesn't exist on GitHub.com, but it's telling you how to fix it. It's giving you the command, right? So don't be shy. Don't be afraid. Git does this a lot. It's trying to help us out here. Go ahead and copy this code, copy this command rather, and run it. This is basically just telling GitHub that I've got a new branch, right? I've got a new branch. Anytime you see origin, that's GitHub. That's GitHub.com. Or if you're using Bitbucket, then that's Bitbucket, right? That's wherever the cloud is, where your code is being stored. So we're just telling Git that we want to push this new branch to GitHub.com, and then we can see that it successfully goes through. And now, if we navigate to GitHub.com for this repository, it actually shows us that we had this new branch created up here, or if you want to, you can go navigate to the branch this way. Doesn't really matter. But what I wanted to show you, the whole goal of this exercise, is that we wish to create a pull request. So I'm going to go ahead and click the button that it suggests for exactly that. And a pull request, what is it? It's quite literally just a way for people on your team, your collaborators, to examine a particular commit, which remember is just a snapshot, right? Just a moment in time, and provide comments on it. So why is this useful? For many, many, many different reasons. If I'm adding something new, to the code, this is a way for other people on my team to review those changes and verify that my work is good. Because if I'm working on a big project, it's not just one person that says, yeah, this code's fine, right? We do things called peer reviews, where other people look at our work, verify that it actually does what it's supposed to do. So, that process can happen here, and it will. We'll do some stuff like that later on in class. If there's a conflict, I was talking about this before, right? There's a conflict. Anytime a conflict occurs, Git automatically creates a commit. And so you can go create a pull request for that commit. If contain the conflict. And people who are involved in the conflict, who created the two different versions of the file, can discuss what happened, what needs to be included, what needs to be what needs to be done in order to resolve this conflict. So you can add a description here, right? Added a new feature, please peer review, or whatever the case is for the pull request, right? Click the create pull request button. And then on the pull request itself, what are the things to look at? Up here at the top, you can see that it's possible for pull requests to contain more than one commit. A lot of times there might just be one though. That's not uncommon. And when you look at a commit, you're actually looking at the changes. So I'm not looking at the whole repository. I'm just looking at what's different between what it looked like now and what it looked like the last time you did something. So I'm only looking at the differences, only looking at the changes. You can also see a list of the files that were changed. Right in here, it's just showing you that before, this file didn't exist. It's blank on the left-hand side, right? This file did not exist after the file exists, and it has this random gibberish in it. So it's letting you review these changes, and then you can also provide comment on them. So, I'd encourage you and your group mates to try this out, right? Put a comment down here. Changes look good. Comment. Or maybe the changes don't look good. You want to make some suggestions, right? Be sure to look at the foo method. It's pretty ugly, right? Make a comment. And then, whoever is responsible for this work might actually come add some more commits to it, right? Fix up these changes, add more commits to the pull request. People can continue to comment until the issues are resolved. Once the actual changes have been accepted by all people in the group, by all people who care, by all people who have a say in such things, then you can close. You can see there's an option to close the pull request down here, and it will actually even offer to, well, you can see as part of the pull request, it will merge those changes. Here I'm creating a pull request to merge this into master. We talked last time about good branching strategy. Actually, we'd probably be merging any new branches into the development branch, but this is just a practice exercise, so we'll ignore that detail for now. Once you actually get down here, though, and close the once you go down here and actually close this out, I believe it gives us the option to merge. No? Oh. Okay. Gives us the option to delete. It didn't actually do the merge, though, did it? Let's check. Let me check and see. No, I don't think it actually did the merge. It used to give you the option to merge the branches in here, and to be honest with you, I think it probably is still in here somewhere. It just looks like the user interface for pull requests has changed, which doesn't surprise me at all. In fact, I know that it's changed because these tabs at the top also look different to me from the last time I've given this lecture. So that is kind of one of the more annoying things about Git, in my opinion, is that they are changing the. I mean, it's good and bad. They're adding new stuff, but they also change how things work, and you kind of have to be ready to adapt to those changes. So you can always merge this in manually or dig in, figure out where they buried the merge option. I'm sure it's in here somewhere, but this is a pull request, and again, the whole primary reason for a pull request is to bring any changes to the group's attention so that they can provide comments, provide feedback, and then get good input on the code that's moving into the repository. Any questions about that process? Okay. We have about half an hour left. I do have some more Git stuff to talk to you about, but I definitely want to make sure to talk about the homework assignment. So I think what I'm going to do is cover that base real quick, and then if we have more time at the end of class, then I might come back and clean up a few additional Git topics that I want to chat with you about. The assignment's about Git, so we're not really done talking about Git yet. Anyhow, I also actually was reminded, I meant to mention this at the beginning of class and I forgot. I'm sorry about that. For assignment 2, the current assignment that's due today, the Vim exercises, it looks like the original file got modified, which is not a big deal. It happens usually on accident. Student, probably by a student, didn't intend to modify the original Vim exercises file. I think it only affected the first exercise. Again, I'm not upset about it. Happens every semester. I restored it to its original version. So if you looked at the Vim exercises file and thought it was messed up, it was messed up. I fixed it this morning. So if you want to go grab a new copy, you can. Honestly, I'm not too worried about it. Again, not a big deal. Not upset about it at all. It's part of the learning process to make those kinds of mistakes. So just wanted to let you know that that happened in case you were wondering about it, because I know a few people were wondering about it. Back to assignment 3. So assignment 3 is honestly a lot like assignment 2, but we're going to be stepping things up a notch. For assignment 2, you were given all of the homework files as folders that contained information, right? This time, that information is going to be in a Git repository. That information is going to be inside of a Git repository. And the information that I ask you to submit to me is also going to be a Git repository. We're going to be using Git from here on out, basically. Why not? It's a very useful tool. So if you look at the assignment instructions, you'll notice that I have a link to create a repository for your work using GitHub Classroom. I assume most of you are familiar with this process from your other classes. We haven't been using that for the first couple assignments, but we are now. You're going to get a link. It's going to make a copy of this repository that I want to pull up and discuss with you real quick, if I can find it. There it is. Oh, there it is. Perfect. All right. So what does this repository contain? It contains a copy of the instructions. This is exactly the same as the instructions on Canvas for you to reference. It contains a list of student keys. And as you can see, similar to the last assignment, these are not real students. These are fake students, right? But each one of these students has a repository. Each one of these students has a repository. It is an actual real Git repository that I have created for these students in this class. So if you go on to, I believe you would be able to do this as well. Once you accept the assignment and are included as part of the class on github.com, I believe you can see the course organization on your github.com profile and see that there are in fact repositories. So here's, fake Post Malone, fake Beyonce, right? They all start with the word fake so that I know that they're not. It's more for me, right? Just a reminder that these are fake repositories. But also for you, these are not real repositories. These are for the purpose of the assignment. And so if I click on one of these assignments, click on one of these students, let's see. I think LeBron James did this properly. So here's LeBron James's submission for this assignment. The actual submission itself is not on the master branch. As part of the assignment submission, the students were asked to create a branch called Cypher. So in order to see LeBron James's actual code submission, you need to switch over to the Cypher branch, and in that branch we see that there is in fact a file called cypher.java. The actual code is not the point here, right? You can look at it if you want to, but I don't care about that. That's not the real thing. What I do care about is that we want to run that Java code and compare the results, right? Does this Java code give us the output that we are expecting for this homework assignment? So that's going to be a little bit tricky because we're doing this all via bash script. We're doing this via command line. So Java code via the command line. That's something I'm going to show you in just a few minutes. Let me talk about the rest of the assignment first. Right? The issue with this assignment is that LeBron here did a great job. You can see he submitted the assignment earlier this morning, a few hours ago. And I know for a fact that he got it right. He got the assignment correct. There are other people who didn't. So you'll run their Java code, and it's not going to work. It's not going to produce the right result. There are other people who just didn't do it at all. So you'll check out the Cypher branch, and there just won't be any code there. The Cypher.java file will not be present. Obviously, they're not going to get a good grade on this assignment. And then there is one particular person, Lewis Cole here, who is one of the students in this class. And I'm going to go ahead and check out his Cypher branch right now. Okay, so I'm on the Cypher branch. There's his submission, Cypher.java. And I know for a fact that it is also correct. It's functional. But poor Lewis Cole here didn't get it in on time. He's just committing it now. And unfortunately for him, the assignment was due at the beginning of class at 10 a.m. So everybody else in the class got their assignment completed and submitted before 10 o'clock this morning on today's date. But poor Lewis Cole here was about 52 minutes late. I know that I actually don't really care about due dates so much. That's not really a thing for me. I do care, right? I'm a little bit loosey-goosey on the due dates. But for this particular assignment, I am not. I am not loosey-goosey on the due dates. I am very strict. Gotta have it in by 10 o'clock in the morning this morning, or I'm not even going to look at it. So that's an additional wrinkle for you on this assignment. I speak about this in the instructions. I'm talking to you about this because this is one of the things that I get questions about the most. Here it is, step 3, right? Pass the deadline. We do not want to consider it. Think about what that means. Think about what that means. We need to have some way of seeing when the commit was made, when that commit was made, and comparing that to a particular date that we care about, date and time that we care about. This is possible. I know for a fact it's possible. I do it all the time. It's a useful technique to know. I'm not going to tell you how to do it now. I want you to Google this. I've told people to Google stuff in this class. That is a recurring theme, right? I don't have all the answers. I actually do have this answer because I've done this a bunch. But in general, I don't have all the answers. Part of what I want you to get familiar with in this class is looking stuff up and being confident and comfortable enough to give it a try. Maybe even if you're not 100% certain that it's going to work, having the confidence that I'm going to try it, see if it works or not, and then adapt, right? Try and tweak it until it does work. Because it is possible, I promise you. So I'm specifically asking you to use your Google skills here. That is specifically what I'm requesting. Think about what to search for. The Google search terms, I know exactly what to type into Google to get to the Stack Overflow page that has the answer to this question. Right? And if you get really stuck, make an appointment with me and come into my office and I'll tell you. Right? You can do it. I want you to try and figure it out for yourself. There is a post on Stack Overflow. Actually, I know for a fact there's other ways of doing it because students have found other ways of doing it that, in my opinion, look a little bit more painful than the one that I have in mind. But yeah, see what you can come up with. Definitely more than one way to do it. I know of a great, very straightforward, simple way of doing it. Yeah, see what you can do. And again, if you get really, really, really stuck, don't bang your head up against that part for hours and hours. I will give you a hint. Shoot me an email, come to my office. We can chat about that part. Once you figure that part out, so you need to, let's talk about what actually, back up and start from the beginning. Obviously, you're going to need to clone all of the repositories. You're going to have to check out the Cypher branch because that's where the code exists. Right? You're going to have to make sure that you're looking at the, I think the proper way to think about this is, I wish to look at the repository as it existed at this moment in time. way to think about that part of the question. Figure out how to get Git to tell you the answer to the question. What did the repository look like at this time? That's what you want to know, right? Tell me what the repository looked like at 10 o'clock a.m. on February 12th, 2024. Once you have done all of that preliminary setup Git stuff, we have to deal with the code. We have to deal with compiling and running the code. So let's talk about how to do that on command line. I'd like for you all to pull up your terminal right now. It doesn't have to be in a Git repository. It can be anywhere. It can be anywhere. And type the word Java. If you see something that looks like this on your machine, then you are good to go. I would expect Mac users to probably see this. I would expect Windows users maybe not to see this, perhaps. How many people get something like command not found or something like that? Yeah, that's kind of what I expected. A few people. Most people are okay. If you got command not found or something along those lines, that means that while you may have installed Java on your computer, remember Windows subsystem for Linux is actually sort of having an entirely different computer within your computer. So we need to install Java here. And the way to do that, again, this only applies to Windows machines. If you're on a Mac, these next instructions are not for you. We're going to go through what's called the package manager, which is called apt. So the way to do that, we're also going to use a command called sudo. Has anybody heard of this command before? It's a very popular, common command. Stands for super user do. This command is basically saying, I'm about to do something that could have some significant effects. It could make some significant changes. So we're basically saying that this is an administrator task. This means it's going to ask you for an administrator password, which should just be your password to log into your computer, I believe. I can talk to you about that if that ends up being a problem. But if you're on a Windows machine, we probably want to update first. Yeah, what is my password? Okay, that works. Yeah, I got it right. If you're on a Mac, that command won't work, I promise you. And I'll show you the command again in a second. It's just doing stuff right now. I need to let it finish. There we go. All right. So again, if you're on a Windows machine, this is the first command that I ran. Sudo apt-get update. It'll ask for your password. It should just be your computer password, I believe. Once that's done, this is the next command that I'm going to run. This is telling it to install the Java Development Kit. Whoops, that's not the right name. All right, let me Google it then. Apt install open. Oh, it's no hyphen, probably. Yep. Take the hyphen out. Nope, still not it. All right, come on now. Dash JDK, can I do that? I'll try it. Wait, what did that say? Okay. Dash 18 dash JDK. None of these are working. That's great. Oh, 17. Sorry, 17, not 18. There we go, finally. All right, that worked. Sorry that took me a second to do. I'll show you the command again once it's done doing all this stuff. Sorry about that. It's installing Java right now. It's almost, okay. Here's the command that I ran. Again, sorry it took me a second to figure it out. This is the command that I ran. Once that's done, you should hopefully be able to run the Java command, as I did before, and see that instead of command not found, it'll give you something about how to use the Java command. If you're still stuck, don't freak out. I will stick around after class. I will help all of you. If you can't stick around after class, make an appointment. I believe I even still have time tomorrow if you want to come in. I will help you with this. Send me an email. Send me a screenshot. I want to make it clear that, yes, this can be a little tricky, but I will help you. Just let me know what I can do to help you out. I'm going to proceed along because I want to make sure to get through all the assignment 3 instructions. And one of the things that you're going to need to know how to do is compile and run a Java program. So, first step is to make sure that you're in a directory that contains some Java code. If you have cloned one of the student repos, that's good enough. If you have some Java code handy, you can cd into one of those directories, or if you want to, you could make a quick Java program yourself, right? You would need to put in a class, and then good old public static void main. Probably just a simple hello world, right? Bracket, bracket. Okay. So I have my simple hello world Java program that I just typed up real quick. I wish to run this program. I've been using a word actually that I haven't explained to you yet called compile. Compilation is actually the step of taking the Java code, the code that we as human beings write, and turning it into essentially ones and zeros, which is what the computer wants, right? The computer speaks binary under the hood. So compilation is the process of taking this code and turning it into something that the computer can actually use and understand. It's a process that is part of basically, well, not every programming language. There are other languages that are called interpreted as opposed to compiles. Python probably being the primary example of an interpreted language. But many languages, Java, C++, Go, and yeah, anything that's kind of C#, anything that's kind of C-like is going to be compiled. And so the command I'm going to run is actually not Java, but Java C, where the C stands for compile, Java compiler. And then I will just tell it the name of the Java file that I wish to compile. Hello.java. And it didn't tell me anything. That's actually a good sign. That means that it worked. What did it actually do? Well, if you type ls now, you'll notice that there's another file that's here that wasn't here before. It's called a class file. Right here. My hello.java file went through the compiler. The result of that compilation process is hello.class. This is happening every single time you run a Java program. Even if you run a Java program in Eclipse, this is still happening. This is part of what Eclipse is doing for you. You can actually go see these class files on your computer. They're there. You go look for them. They exist, right? Those class files, that's actually the program that the computer is running. It is not running the hello.java file. That's, again, the code that we wrote to explain what we want to happen to the computer. It went through this compilation process and produced this file. This is the file that actually gets run on the computer. So, we can actually look at that file. You can open it up and take a peek if you want to. You'll notice that it's not going to be very easy for you to understand. I recognize some words in here, right? And there's a whole bunch of other stuff in here that, I don't know. this isn't for us. This is not a file that exists for us. This is a file that is intended to be used by the computer. It contains information for the computer to run our Java program. So it's a computer representation, right? Machine code, if any of you are familiar with that concept, for the computer to run. So how do we actually do this? How do we actually tell the computer to run our program? That's actually very easy. We just say Java, followed by the name of the program. Notice there's no .class, there's no .java. I am telling Java that I wish to run the program that is called hello. It is going to look for that program in the file called hello.class. I don't have to, if you say .class, it actually will not work. If I say Java hello.class, it does not work, right? It says, I don't know what you're talking about. The name of the program is just hello. So Java hello will print out hello world. I've successfully compiled and run my Java program. So pay close attention. I'm actually about to give you, some big help on the homework assignment. Part of your script is going to be this. Java. And then, I'm sorry, that was not the right thing to do. Java C for compile. I forgot the C. There we go. There's the class file. And then Java without the C. So the C is for compiling. We leave the C off when we wish to run. If I say Java cipher, then that actually runs the file, which creates an output for us. You may have done that. Did it do that all in one step here? Because there's the output file that got created. That's interesting. I'm not sure what happened when I did that, to be perfectly honest. It looks like it may have filed run through, but I'm not sure. Question? So the name of the file has to be the same as the name of the class. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a great question actually. The name of the file has to be the name of the class in Java. So the fact that I called my file hello.java and I called my class hello, that was not an accident. That was very much intentional. The name of the class in the file, this right here, this has to be the same as the file name. Capitalization included. Has to be capitalized. Yes? Did you change it in Vim perhaps?
Could I open it, but I don't think I changed it.
You could delete the class file and try to recompile it. That would be what I would suggest.
Can you guys recompile it without changing the file?
Yeah, I think so. Yep. So I would expect both of these commands to be part of your script. Java C cipher.java and Java cipher. I would expect to see both of those in your script. In fact, let's chat about that. The script that you write for assignment 3, I would quite literally start with the script that you wrote for assignment 2. There's a lot of stuff that's similar. So take the script for assignment 2 and figure out how to tweak it. You don't need to start from scratch. I mean, you can if you really want to. But there's a lot of stuff that's similar in assignment 2. The intention is kind of to, figure out how to insert Git commands into the solution that you had for assignment 2. So yeah, that's, I think that's all of the important stuff that I wanted to cover. Let me make sure that I didn't forget anything. I don't think I forgot anything. I mean, there's stuff that I didn't talk about, but make sure to read the instructions fully. I know there's probably a couple details that I have not explicitly discussed, but please read the instructions carefully. I believe I gave you the exact, did I not give you the exact command? Oh yeah, I did. Whew. Thought so. I gave you the exact command that I'm going to use to run your script. Here. The exact command that I'm going to use to run your script, just like last time. And just like last time, you should definitely be doing this on your computer. Please do not SSH into the server. We're not going to be using that anymore, actually, after assignment 2. We're done doing that for this class. Any questions about what we've talked about so far? I do have a few minutes left. I do want to chat to you about one more thing before you go. Any questions about assignment 3 before I move on to a slightly different topic? Definitely get assignment 2 done first. And again, if you don't have assignment 2 done yet, you think you're going to need another bit of time on it, that's okay. But ask for help, please. I'm definitely going to be a lot more forgiving about due dates if I see that there's active effort being made on the assignment and you're not just sitting around letting it sit on the back burner. So, if you think you are going to need extra time, let me know where you're at least. Let me know if you need any help. And then for assignment 3, start with your solution for assignment 2. Try to get all this stuff done. Make sure that oh yeah, I did also too, just to be extra super helpful, try to be helpful anyway. You have all of the expected results, so yeah, you have the list of grades. These are the grades. 1 means they got it, 0 means they didn't. So you can compare your grades with the list of grades given here. If everything matches up, then you're good to go. One last thing to talk about is a git ignore file. I actually talked about this on Wednesday, but I never actually got around to telling you about what the git ignore file is and what it's used for. Let me show you what it's used for. I don't believe I actually have one in this repository, but I can make one real quick using Vim. The idea behind git ignore is actually fairly simple. Any files that I put in this file, in this .gitignore file, will be ignored by Git, meaning that they cannot be part of this repository. So there are certain types of files that we never, ever want to put in our repository. One of those types of files we actually have right now, class file. So star.class means any file that ends in .class, I don't care about it. I want to ignore it. Why do we want to ignore class files? Why don't we want class files to go in the repository? When you compile something, the program that is generated is actually unique to your computer. It is custom made to run specifically on your computer, right? Which means that if I gave you the class file that was made on my computer, it probably would not work on your computer. If you had a computer that was very similar to mine, it might. But if your computer is at all different to mine in any significant way, the class file is probably not going to work. It's probably not going to work. Or if we use a different version of Java, it's not going to work, right? So class files are never kept into our repository. The .java files, the actual code that we wrote, yes, always. Put the code, the human readable code, in the repository. If somebody wants to run the program, they will create their own .class files. They don't need to use ours. They can't use ours. They can't use anybody else's .class files. We don't want to include them. There are other examples of stuff that we don't want to include in our repositories. But in general, anything that's unique to your computer, we don't want it in there. We only want stuff that's going to be useful to the other members of our group. So usually code, right? That's the main thing. There might be other stuff too. But any settings files that you have, so like, for example, you can go find fun stories about somebody who committed their Eclipse settings to the repository, and then the next person who used that repository had a purple background with Comic Sans and Eclipse, right? Like, it's not a very nice thing to do to somebody, but that's what happens if you commit stuff to the repository, like personal settings files that other people aren't going to be interested in. So I typically don't write git ignore files myself. I know I did this time, but they're typically pretty standardized. You actually saw when I created a repository last week, I had it create a git ignore file for me. Let's see if I can dig that one up real quick. Oh, okay. Come on now. So the one that's generated for us automatically by Java. Oh, did I not make one? I thought I did. Maybe it's just not in this one. Oh, okay. Well, whatever. Not that important, I suppose. Just Google it instead. Here we go. Here's the one that, and there it is right up at the top, right? Just like I was talking about. For Java, we never want to include the class files. Here's some other examples of files that we typically don't expect to be, right? This is all just standardized. GitHub.com has templates for all the major languages, so I'm not writing this myself. I'm saying, all right, this is a Java project. I'm going to use this .gitignore file. And then if there's other types of files that I know I don't want to be included, I might add them to this list, right? But I'm never just going to sit down and type one up from scratch. It's not necessary, but it is important and a good thing to know how to use. So yeah, want to make sure to bring that to your attention. This is something that I will expect you to use on the project, right? Where you're going to be graded on your repository structure, which includes, is there junk in the repository that shouldn't be there? Are there files in the repository that shouldn't be there? The simplest way to do that is to make sure to use the gitignore file properly, which is a pretty simple thing to do, right? You can actually select it when you make the repository. You don't really have to think about it all that much. All right, this is a great stopping point. I know there's more stuff to do with Git than we can possibly cover in 2 days, but we're going to move on to some fun stuff next week, including starting to talk about clean code. So what does it mean to have code that works but also looks good and is easy to understand? If you're having Git problems or homework problems, I got time after class. If you want to stick around and chat for a few minutes, I'd be happy to do that. Otherwise, have a great week. I'll see you on Wednesday. Yes? I'll be right there. 1 second.